Hello everybody, this is Tyler here once again from the Character Workshop. Came back after a trip to the moon. So yes, today I am finally talking about Wallace and Gromit. Now, I'm sure a lot of you already know who Wallace and Gromit are. They're one of the most well-known characters to come out of the UK, and I guess in general, one of the most well-known stop-motion animated characters of all time as well. Over the years, the characters have been in a variety of different stuff. They have had 4 short films, a few TV shows, a live musical show, and a theatrical movie. And some of their productions have won Academy Awards, so yeah, Wallace and Gromit are definitely something worth talking about. Now, I know what some of you are going to be saying after what I said. You're all going to be like, oh, just because a movie has been nominated or won an Academy Award doesn't mean it's a good movie. Then again, the Jim Carrey Grinch movie was nominated, and I don't know if it was nominated. I think it won the Academy Awards for, like, Best Visual Design and Best Makeup, but yeah, this isn't about the Grinch, though. This is about Wallace and Gromit here. So, of course, it would make a lot of sense for me to talk about Wallace and Gromit's first production, being the 1989 short film by the name of A Grand Day Out. So, the two main characters of the shorts, and I guess the whole entire franchise in general, are Wallace and Gromit themselves. Wallace is an eccentric Englishman who is an inventor of many things and has an interest, a big interest in cheese, especially the Wensleydale brand. Gromit, the other main character of the series, is Wallace's pet dog and best friend who helps him out a lot on his adventures and tasks. Now, one thing that you guys might know about Gromit very well, if you've seen pictures of him before, you may notice Gromit has no mouth. Now, from what I've heard, Gromit was originally going to talk in A Grand Day Out and was going to be voiced by Peter Hawkins, but then Nick Park, the director and creator of Wallace and Gromit, decided that, Gromit's mouth would be a bit hard to animate, so they decided to keep Gromit as a silent character. And yeah, Gromit in general mostly shows his expression by, making different faces or all that stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much what Gromit's like. So that we've gotten our two main characters out of the way, let's talk about their very first adventure in A Grand Day Out. Now, the plot starts with Wallace and Gromit looking through magazines about where to go during their bank holiday, and Wallace decides to get some tea, crackers, and cheese. However, he realizes that they're out of cheese, so Wallace then comes up with the idea that he and Gromit should go on holiday to a place that has cheese. So as Wallace and Gromit were looking through papers and magazines to find a place to go to that has cheese, both of them then look at their window and look up at the moon in the sky, with Wallace in response saying, "Everybody knows the moon's made of cheese." So then Wallace goes into the basement to sketch out plans for a rocket to build so he and Gromit could go to the moon. So then a montage plays of Wallace and Gromit working together to get the rocket finished. And after quite some time, the both of them finished building the rocket, and they're ready to set off. Or are they?
No crackers, Gromit. We've forgotten the crackers.
Wallace, however, almost forgets to bring the crackers with them to the moon, so he gets off the rocket and then quickly grabs the crackers, and then they both set off for the moon. Then Wallace and Gromit eventually land on the moon, and the both of them find a spot to rest to try out the cheese on the moon. Wallace then tries a piece and was trying to guess what kind of cheese this could be, and then after trying it for a while, he realizes that it's not like any cheese that he's tasted before, so then he and Gromit decide to go to another spot to look for more. While in the process, the both of them find a strange oven-shaped machine on the moon, and Wallace decides to put a coin inside it to see what it does, and seeing that it did nothing, Wallace and Gromit then decide to move along. However, not too long that they left, The machine then comes to life with arms, wheels, and an eye. So this machine, also known as the cooker, looks over at the previous spot that Wallace and Gromit were in, and he eventually finds a magazine with skiing on the cover and looks inside and dreams of eventually becoming a skier one day. And eventually the cooker then finds Wallace and Gromit's rockets, inspects it a little, and then eventually the cooker finds Wallace and Gromit themselves. So the cooker appears to not be happy with the fact that Wallace is taking pieces of cheese from the ground and cutting it up. So the cooker then gets a bat out and tries to attempt to hit Wallace with it. However, before the cooker was able to stop Wallace from eating the cheese, the cooker itself stopped working, as judging from the meter on the top right of his body, the cooker only is active for a certain period of time after someone inserts a coin into it. So as soon as Wallace and Gromit see the cooker again, Wallace decides to put another coin into it, and both him and Gromit decide to go back home to Earth and back to their rocket with a basket full of moon cheese. The cooker then wakes up and realizes that Wallace and Gromit are going back to Earth, which is where his skiing interest comes into play. So the cooker decides to try and go back to the rocket with Wallace and Gromit. However, Wallace and Gromit both see the cooker and they thought that he was going after them because of the fact that they took their moon cheese. So they both try to escape as fast as they can away from the cooker. The cooker then tries to break into the rocket through the bottom and couldn't see inside, so it lit a match, and it was right near a fuel tank, so because of the match, it caused a gas explosion which led Wallace and Gromit to fly back to Earth. Afterwards, the cooker is sat lying there, upset that it couldn't get back to Earth. However, it realizes that the two pieces of metal that were from the rocket can be used as skis. So then the cooker decides to use those pieces of metal as skis and ski across the mountains around the moon. And the cooker then gave one last goodbye to Wallace and Gromit before going back to skiing. And Wallace and Gromit, of course, waved back to it. So that was the plot of A Grand Day Out in a nutshell. So what do I think about it? I still think it's pretty good and worth watching, even after 30 years since it came out. Yeah, it does have probably the most simplistic plot out of all the Wallace and Gromit shorts and movies, but it definitely still has that bit of Wallace and Gromit charm to it, and plus it was the first Wallace and Gromit production, so without it, we probably wouldn't even have these two characters to begin with. Now I might as well use this time to talk about some of the production behind Wallace and Gromit, A Grand Day Out. So Nick Park, the director and creator of Wallace and Gromit, actually first started production on this short in 1982 as a graduation project for the National Film and Television School. And remember when I said earlier that this short film came out in 1989? That means Nick Park took 7 years to work on this project. Wow. Thankfully, in 1985, Aardman Animations, of course, the main animation studio behind Wallace and Gromit, took Nick Park in before he was able to finish the project, and they allowed him to work part-time on the project while still being funded by the school. And as you guys may have seen from the short film, there's only one voice actor throughout the entire thing, and that would be Peter Sallis, who does the voice of Wallace. Now, Nick Park offered Peter Sallis only £50 to do Wallace's voice for the shorts, and Sallis's acceptance for the role surprised Nick Park at the time. Nick Park originally wanted Wallace to have a Lancastrian accent just like his own. However, Sallis could only do a Yorkshire accent, so because of how Sallis drew out the word cheese, Nick Park then decided to have Wallace have large cheeks, which is what basically was the inspiration for Wallace's design that we know today. Now, the actual plot for A Grand Day Out is way different than what we actually got now. Originally, the short was going to be 40 minutes long, and the plot of it would have had a sequence where Wallace and Gromit would visit a fast food restaurant on the moon. Now, this is funny to me because I remember 2 years before A Grand Day Out came out, in 1987, there was a Star Wars spoof movie called Spaceballs done by Mel Brooks, which had sort of a similar scene, but with like the restaurant at the edge of the universe. So, yeah. And the plot would have been a lot more interesting too, like there was going to be a part where Wallace gets thrown into prison on the moon and Gromit was going to have to get him out. And when Nick Park approached to Aardman in 1985 about this, Nick Park only completed everything up until the first moon scene of the movie. And then when Aardman found out that he had bigger plans for the short, they said to him, it's going to take you another 9 years to do that scene. So Nick Park then decided to have to shorten the plot a little bit, not make it as complicated. So that's how we got A Grand Day Out today. So after the short was complete, it was first shown in November 4th, 1989 at an animation festival at the Arno Feeney Gallery in Bristol. And then a year later, on Channel 4, it was broadcasted on Christmas Eve 1990 for television. And remember what I said earlier about a lot of Wallace and Gromit's productions being nominated or winning Academy Awards? This short did so well that it was nominated for Academy Award for Best Animated Short in 1991. However, it did lose to another Aardman short that was done by Nick Park under the name Creature Comforts. So, yeah, a bit disappointing. However, Wallace and Gromit would win a couple other Academy Awards in some of their later productions, which I will cover in future episodes, so yeah. But for those of you who have never watched Wallace and Gromit before and want to get a decent start, I would definitely say watch this short. It's got a lot of charm, it's got great animation, even though it was from the late 80s, but still, it's definitely worth checking out. Of course, Peter Sallis does a pretty nice job bringing out the humble nature of Wallace, and I also forgot to mention the music. The music was done by a guy by the name of Julian Knott, who, of course, would later go on to do music for all the other Wallace and Gromit productions. And fun facts that I didn't know about Julian Knott until now: not only does he do the music for the Wallace and Gromit movies and shorts and all that stuff, but he also did the music for I shit you not, Peppa Pig. Yeah, definitely did not expect that. But yeah, that's all I gotta talk about with the first Wallace and Gromit short. So yeah, like I said before, definitely give it a watch. And in general, that's gonna be about it for this episode of A Cave from England. If you liked this episode, feel free to give it a like. Hit subscribe if you want to see more episodes of A Cave from England and just mediocre plush content in general. Leave a comment down below letting me know what you think. That is about it. This is Tyler from the Character Workshop, signing out. Next time, I'm gonna need to get a pair of new pants or trousers, because I think these are the wrong ones.